Hello, everyone, and welcome to Modern and Intuitive ITSM, HaloITSM, and the CX you've been searching for. My name is Tabitha Ishman, and I'm the Marketing Manager of Excalibur Data Systems. I just wanted to welcome all of you to the webinar today and then talk about a few logistics before we go ahead and get started. The lines are muted and the webinar is being recorded. A recording will be sent via email to all participants tomorrow. It'll also be made available on our YouTube channel and our website. We'll answer questions at the end in a Q&A session, and you can ask questions at any time during the presentation just by typing them into the question window. And now for a little bit about Excalibur Data Systems. We are a leading edge consulting firm guiding organizations through their digital transformation journey. We work with strategic partners, just like HaloITSM, and leverage best of breed enterprise service management technologies. In doing so, we help create next generation solutions for our customers. And now I'd like to introduce HaloITSM to some of you. HaloITSM is a single all-inclusive ITSM software solution. It will transform your current ways of working into intuitive, up-to-the-minute workflows, as well as give your teams the ability to deliver the very best service to your customers and employees. And I know we have a lot of great content to get to today, and this is our first joint webinar, first of many, with Halo. And I'd like to introduce Mike Fuson, Senior Solution Architect and Consultant, and also the owner of Excalibur Data Systems. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Tabitha, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm joined by Tom Petley. Tom is the product owner and an executive at Halo Solutions and product owner of HaloITSM. If you follow us on YouTube, you've seen Tom and I chatting many a time about HaloITSM. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Yeah, great to be here.
Yes, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun, but we want to start things out with a quick poll for everyone. How would you rate the customer experience provided by your present ITSM ESM tool? And Tabitha, if we could pop that poll up there for everybody. The poll covers everything from if it's magnificent to it's okay, but it could use some work, or don't even get me started.
I will leave that up there for a few more moments. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
So the results are about what we typically see, which is the majority of folks are like, it's not bad, or it could use some work. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how Halo ITSM is really a different type of ESM that's been built on the customer experience. Now, Halo ITSM as a product, we wanted to make sure everybody was aware, is everything you need for IT all in one place, and it's just the beginning of what's available in the Halo platform. Everything from incident management and service request, problem change, CMDB asset, service catalog, knowledge, self-service portal, all of the core IT service management processes are in there, but then there's other processes that are available within the platform. And it isn't you buy Halo and you get everything. What you use is what you choose to use. But Tom, let's talk a little bit about Halo. It's a responsive and customer experience driven platform that makes a significant impact. And we have a screenshot of a service catalog up here because the service catalog and the self-service portal tend to be the core and the foundation to many IT service management platforms, because that's the customer, your end user's entree into the tool and the ability to organize it and drive it. But Halo really, the focus as you guys continue to develop the platform, but from the very beginning was a focus on customer experience. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've always had a a vision that it should be grown, the product should be developed from a kind of a customer first approach. It's very, very easy to get drawn into all the different ITIL processes, and you start to kind of grow it from the analyst perspective and the agent perspective. And if you end up doing that, then it doesn't always make that much sense to people outside of IT, and people from our end users, maybe they don't know what an incident is or a problem is, or even what a request is. They may not know exactly what it is. And the amount of feedback we've had just from people coming to Halo is that, I don't know, their users don't want to have to know all these terms necessarily, and it needs to be very intuitive for them, just going onto a portal and picking the right options and going to a nice simple search. So we've always built it around those user requirements rather than, obviously it all works great for the agent perspective, and all those processes are all configured from the agent side. But from a user, we want to make it easy for them to use and very obvious when they go onto the portal, and quite visual as well. So that's kind of the approach we've taken there.
Yeah, and in taking that approach, one of the things I've seen as we've done our many demos and talked to a lot of customers about the Halo platform is that the agents, the technicians that are consuming the system find it fairly intuitive as well, and easy to use, because sometimes what we see in a lot of platforms, there may be a effort to provide a great customer experience for the end user, but sometimes the agent gets lost in the shuffle, and the agent has to click all over the place, and it's not as
they're living in the system day in, day out. It needs to work for them as well. And all those kind of little things about, I don't know, we might get onto it later, but kind of being able to easily pull knowledge base articles or reuse kind of canned responses and stuff, just really simple things. And that actually, it makes a great experience for the agent, but it also gets the customer the response they need really quickly as well. So it's kind of a full circle, really.
Right, and the fact that the platform was built with that in mind, but built on a responsive platform, makes it quick, makes it simple, makes it great from a customer experience perspective. And driving that is the ease of use, and also then with that, the ease of administration, right? So you can take control of your configuration of your platform. And something to note that's really key with this is all web-based. There is no tools that no agents that need to be installed, tools that need to be installed locally. This is all web-based from a customer and an agent experience, but also from a configuration perspective. And we're going to see that a little bit later as we do kind of a real brief demo. But it's designed to allow you to easily manage the configurations. And that helps to drive down the total cost of ownership. This is a completely no-code platform, and allows you to then easily and quickly update workflows whenever you need. So Tom, Halo includes not only the core processes, but workflows that sit behind them, things like approvals and sending out notifications and all of those sort of things. But the ability to also very easily create new forms and set values on fields and all of those sort of things. That was very, very key as well. Again, going to the customer experience, that even goes into the ease of administration.
Oh, 100%. The ease of configuration is one of the key components of Halo, is because IT, it's not static. Sometimes these projects are treated as a one-time project, and we're going to set all these things up and it's going to then just be there and work forever. And in reality, it's not quite how it works. Things change, new services are added, different fields need to be captured, you need to change the forms slightly. It's normally kind of pretty small tweaks, or kind of just configuring, I don't know, notifications to go to, I don't know, different places and things like that. Just a lot of them are quite small tweaks, but that's kind of a big part of Halo, is that it's all configured. Everything is all configured in the web, all in the browser. It's all kind of role-based, so you can really control exactly how the configuration should be, and it's kind of with the customer to be able to configure that for themselves as well.
And you guys took that same approach when we're going to take kind of a peek at that here shortly. But the customer experience in the configuration side is still front and center of making it easy, intuitive, simple to understand. And one of the things that Tom and I have been talking about over the course of the last little while is really this work from home reality that so many of us have experienced here in this last year, pretty much worldwide. It's really started to drive that effective ITSM is really a critical component for most organizations. The ease of administration and the ability to pivot quickly was absolutely paramount. As we had to, for so many of us, we had to rapidly shift to work from home and deal with things that maybe weren't dealt with before or weren't in the service catalog. Providing omni-channel capabilities on a clean and easy to use self-service portal really all drives down to that customer experience. And the customer experience became so visible over the last year, where as we all had to shift to work from home, we didn't have the ability just to walk down the hall and tap someone on the shoulder for help. We were all sitting at home, and the agents and technicians, and as well as our customers, they needed to be able to come in and ask for help and do it in a very easy and simple way. And that might be, here's the knowledge article on how to, use the VPN, to I need to request access via VPN because I didn't have it before. And the omni-channel sort of experience became key, where making a phone call wasn't necessarily always the easiest way to get a hold of somebody. Being able to use a self-service portal or use a live chat type feature were things that became very important as well. And we saw a lot of this over this last year in helping customers to move quickly. And that's one of the things that we love about Halo, is that ease of administration allowed you to pivot. Dropping a new service into the service catalog isn't a 400-step process. It's very simple to do.
Yeah, we've had the same experiences. VPN you mentioned is something that's come up time and time again. Is that VPNs used to be, well, for some organizations, an exception. It used to be something that only a certain small group of users had, and suddenly it had to become the norm. So processes changed, approvals maybe got a little bit simpler. Maybe some of it was some automation behind the scenes as well, setting up some automation of the workflows. All those things, that's when an intuitive, simple to configure system that's still got all that power, that's when it comes in really handy. So you can just very quickly, pivot is the word. It seems a bit, I don't love the word pivot. It seems a bit, I don't know, one of those cliche words maybe, to quickly pivot, but it does have that, it's got great meaning here, where we can quickly adapt when times change, and a lot of these things here, they're here to stay as well. It's not that like work from home is going to disappear once kind of COVID's out of the way. It's something that's here to stay. So all these kind of processes, they need to be agile, need to be able to adapt to them and kind of configure them quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we, while we're talking about this was kind of the first step for so many of us in understanding what might be some challenges with our current platform, and why customer experience is so key, because we aren't, for many organizations, not everybody's going to go back to the office. In some cases, nobody's going back to the office.
Yeah.
The world has changed completely. And technologies that have been looked at to help make everybody's day-to-day life from a business perspective easier. And so all of a sudden, we may be bringing new technologies online. Things may happen at a much quicker pace than they might have before. And so that ability to adapt quickly becomes even more important and even more critical for organizations. So we have a case study we want to talk about before we get to the demo. You guys, not too long ago, actually implemented Halo for Sky TV down in New Zealand, right? Talk to me a little bit about what this project looked like, Tom. This was a big change for them.
Yeah, it was a good project, this one. one of those nice projects that you can really see that the product is the right fit. It's resolving problems. It's the product that was required. So this particular customer Sky, they were using ServiceNow when we first introduced them, and ServiceNow had been used, I think it was about 6 years there. So it was well established. It was doing a good job. It's got kind of heavily process driven, and those processes, they were working. It was too complicated. It was too hard to administer. It was the things at Sky that were really important then was being able to configure it and being able to change things flexibly as things changed. And they just couldn't, ServiceNow just didn't meet those requirements. At that time, it was too complex. And there was also lots of different kind of bits to it, different modules and things like that. And it just didn't feel complete to them. And it's something that we kind of get a lot, is that kind of requirement to be more intuitive and be easier to configure, and being able to have real control of the configuration. So that implementation, it was another interesting bit of it was how kind of fast it was needed to happen. It was I don't know exactly why, but the implementation had to be completed, I think it was 10 weeks. Because I think that was the renewal of the contract or something like that. So 10 weeks it had to be delivered in, and that's a kind of, I'd say it's a reasonably short time frame. It is, especially with I mean, it had 600 service catalog items, for example. It was a big project in that sense. And 10 weeks is a reasonably short time frame for that kind of level of service catalog. But certainly achievable, and it was done well within time frame, and all the training completed, all the configuration, all the testing was all fitted into that time period. So Halo really can be implemented very, very quickly, and that's because of some level, the out of the box, how the out of the box processes are all there for you. Also, just how easy it is to change and how quick you can just change those different processes, adjust the workflows, create the catalog items, create the templates, and it's really, really straightforward to do.
Yeah, and we see this quite a bit, Tom. With it's one of the things we want customers to understand is that we're replacing ServiceNow, the market leader, with the Halo product because of its speed, its ease of configuration, and ease of use. The common complaint we always hear is, we have a couple of developers. In order for us to do anything more significant, with our platform, well, you don't have to have a developer to be able to quickly and easily make changes within the Halo system, and the speed at which we can stand the system up. Here in this case, it was within 10 weeks. It can be done very, very quickly, even for a customer that is a little bit more mature with their processes, because we're already aligned to ITIL best practices as we start, and then being able to then tailor that to the unique needs of the customer. The platform just lends itself to that. So kind of in talking about that, let's roll right into the demo and turn it over to you, Tom. Let's look at what some of these things that we're talking about that Halo has the ability to do.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me share my screen. Hopefully you can all see my screen there. Mike, can you just confirm that?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So I thought I'd just give a small presentation today. We're not going to go into a full demo or anything. We're just going to kind of show some of the key points we were discussing earlier about some of the intuitive nature of it, and also the self-service. I think it's really important to look at that. So I've just got a couple of tabs here. I've got self-service, and I've got we're logged in here in the agent interface. So I thought I would just quickly orientate you on that and show you what it looks like for an agent, and then we'll go into the user experience. So these are all the kind of areas of Halo, and they all correspond to these areas down the left-hand side. I'm just going to go into the incidents area because this will give you a bit of a feel for kind of how it would work for an agent. There's some quite a few nice kind of little things I can show you here. So when I went into the incidents area, you'll see here that we're viewing incidents by team, and it just means we have our teams of people down the left-hand side. And if you just expand these teams, you'll see all the team members within them. Next to each person, you can see how many incidents are assigned to them. If I just click between the queues, you'll just see it filters a list of incidents based on that selection. A couple of quick nice things to show you. You can simply drag and drop to reassign. So you can simply assign that to a colleague, and you'll just see that moves into their queue. And you can also sort by any of these columns as well. So you could sort by your SLAs, for example, or you can sort by your priorities. It's just worth saying as well, this goes from green to, I think it's yellow to orange to red as well, just as it works through those different thresholds of the SLA. As well as that, if you hover over these columns, you can click on them. There's a little filter here, and then you can just quickly filter on the priority and viewing high priority, for example, or searching something in the summary. And you'll see the system's designed to be incredibly quick to find things, to return results. And as you navigate, it's really, really quick. And that's not just because I've got demo data, and it's really how the system's designed. It's the architecture that makes it so fast. As well as this, it's very configurable, so I can edit my columns. So you can either have it so you have global column profiles, or each analyst can have their own columns as well. So maybe I just add the user column in here and just save that, and then just drag and drop it to put it in the right place after the summary field there. And it just drops in there for you. It's very, very straightforward to do. A couple of other things I just want to show you are how it looks for the end user. So from an end user perspective, we can go into the self-service here. And this is fully brandable. So this, you can put logos on, you can put kind of banner images here, color schemes, choose the widgets you want. Very, very easy. And it's like we've been talking about throughout the kind of the webinar today. It's no code, so you can just drop images in, you can put logos in. So it's very, very easy. From the portal, one of the key things that we like to promote is the big search bar, the multimodal search, where you search in one place and it searches everywhere. So if I just search in there, you'll see then it starts to search everything. Suggest knowledge base articles, it suggests services the user can request. It will show any existing tickets that the user has open. So it's very, very intuitive for the user. And we like to, well, I like to relate it back to Google, how a lot of users now just go to Google. They like to go there, search it, just type in what they want, and it kind of gives them exactly what they kind of were looking for. And we think it should be the same from a self-service perspective within kind of IT service desk. So we've kind of done the same thing. We've given them a central search bar where they can search in one place, and it just returns everything for them. As well as that, we have all the other widgets here, so you can configure the widgets how you want to. Okay, it's just drag and drop, put whatever widgets you want on there. But a big one is the service catalog. So we can go into here and have our catalog of items. The service catalog is really, really configurable. I have it set up here in a kind of an IT capacity, but Halo is an enterprise service management solution. So you can have multiple service catalogs. You can have a facilities one, an HR one, a legal one, an IT one. So all the different catalogs, and they can all have their own siloed areas of Halo, and it can all be very completely segregated data. But in here, we've got an IT example. I just thought I would talk through just a little bit of an example of how easy it is to configure Halo. So I thought I'd go into the new starter process. It's a popular one for everyone. It's one of the more complex processes generally. I just want to click into this and just show you a bit about it. So if we now head over to the agent side and the services administrative area, we just go into this new starter record. Against each one of these services, we can assign a delivery days, so how long it's going to take to deliver. We can also associate a cost as well behind it. So I'll just add a cost in there. At the bottom here, we can also include a service description. I'll just put some dummy text in there. We can also put images as well. So I'll just do a quick screenshot. Paste that in there, and I'll just save that. Once we've added all that in, so we've just added in there in the web, and just reload this. This will then update from the user side. You'll see here it's come straight through. It's got kind of that cost we put in there, the delivery days under here, and then the service details at the bottom. So very, very straightforward to do. And the other big part of service request is the form that sits behind it. If I click on this, you'll see that we can have a custom form behind each request. So you're always capturing the information you need to. And as part of that, we've just got these fields here. So when it comes to the configuration of this, if I go back into the agent side, we're just going to go into the configuration area. And then we're going to go tickets, ticket types, and I'm just going to find that new starter. Now, a ticket type in Halo is the glue that holds everything together. It's the bit that controls all the things like the default values. So things like, is it going to start a workflow? Is there an approval process that's going to be triggered once that's raised? What's the team that's going to be fulfilling that request? What's the priority when it comes through? So all these default values, they all just sit at this ticket type level. As well as that, we have the field list. And the field list, you'll see here fields such as first name, last name, employee ID, start date. They all just correspond to these fields here. And all we have to do is, if we want to change these, just press the edit button, and we can go and add in additional fields here. And we can either add in fields that exist in Halo, so existing fields, whether that's system fields or fields that have used on other forms, they're all in here. Or we can go add a new form just by pressing this add button. When it comes to adding a form, we just add in a system field such as this one here, good example, and then we give it a friendly label as well, and that's just a caption that appears on the form and throughout the system. At this point, we then choose the type of field, so a text box being a single line box, a memo field being a multi-line box like this one. And then you've got kind of drop-down options here, kind of date fields, and at the bottom there's a rich text field, and that will support screenshots and images that can just be pasted in there. I'm just going to give an example of a single selection drop-down field. We'll see here that we then have a lookup type. So this could either be a static list, just something that resides just on this field, or it could be a dynamic lookup. So in this case, we've suggested SQL as an option, but we can look up in external sources. So you can kind of look up from third-party systems and things like that. I'll do a static list, and I'll just put 3 options here, just comma separated. There's various options, additional options here we can do if we want to, but I'm just going to save that as it is. I'm then just going to add it to this group, and a group is just it's this kind of box here, this bit that breaks the form up, so you can kind of expand and collapse and kind of make it kind of visually quite nice for the user. So I'm just going to add it to that group and save that, and then just drag and drop again, just put it to the top. And again, I'm just going to save it and save it. If I just go to reload this, you'll see now that we've added that field in. It's going to be visible on the form. And just wait for that to reload. And you'll see here we have that example drop down now with those 3 options. So it's very, very straightforward. It doesn't need coding. It doesn't need crazy knowledge of anything. It's simply just following the process and going through the wizard on that. One final thing just to show you on this point is how it's very easy to also make it dynamic as well. So if I go back into this field list, against each field here, there's a kind of a pencil next to it, and that just gives us some additional options if we want to edit that field. So this example option, I just hit the pencil. You'll see here that we can make it required, we can make it a mandatory field, and that just means we'll have a little red star next to it, and they'll be forced to fill that out. You'll also see some other options here. There may be scenarios where you want a field to only show if an agent is raising on behalf of a user. So you could set it to not visible for the end user, but maybe it's required or not required for the agent. So there's options there. And if I just save this, I'm just going to do one final thing on this. So that if I go into one of these other fields, we can then set a rule to say, I only want this field to be visible if the example field is set equal to option 2. Save that. I'll do the same for the last name field, and we'll do the same under here. And just save that and save that. And one final save up there. And if I just reload that, you'll now see that the first name and last name fields aren't visible. This example field is now mandatory. And if we select option 1, it's still just that one. If we select option 2, we've then got those 2 other fields showing. So it's very straightforward to make it a dynamic form. And you can see options here. You can kind of do things around hardware requirements and kind of expand that, and you have your hardware options. So it all kind of builds back to that principle of making it as easy for our users as possible. We want our users to go to the portal. We don't want them to ring up or kind of even walk up when we're allowed back in the offices and send emails in and things like that. We don't want that. We want people to go to the portal because that gives us the options to be able to present knowledge and let people know about different service statuses and let people know maintenance is happening or if we're aware of issues. So we really want to kind of push that focus onto the self-service, and you do that by kind of making it the best option for the user. And if you do that, then they'll start to use it and realize the benefits they get from it.
Yeah, it's a focus we've seen with a lot of customers over the past few years, is really starting to pivot and think about what's the customer experience like. Maybe they didn't have good portal adoption, or they went basic with their portal on a phase 1, and they're paying attention now to how do we start to drive adoption of the portal. It's about call deflection, right? 2 of the #1 calls for almost every organization are password reset and what's the status of my item that I put in. Those are usually for almost every organization, at least in the top 10, if not in the top 5 of the calls they get. With giving them the ability to leverage some of those from the portal, we actually can have an appreciable impact on our call deflection. But as we see here, the portal was designed with that ease of use. One of the things, Tom and I have conversations and have done presentations over and over. I still get excited with that search box, right? Because if I'm searching for something, it's giving me everything that might apply to me. Is it, hey, here's an article. I don't have to search for an article as a separate activity. I'm searching for, hey, I think I want to open an issue with printing, as the example that you used. And all of a sudden, I've got printing knowledge articles that are showing up. And if I had an incident already in the system related to printing, that would show up in this list as well. And so kind of starts to lay stuff out for me. I'm taking actions that are appropriate. And we've seen the sea change. As organizations are being challenged by their team members to make these things better and more available. One of the things I've talked about in a lot of presentations, and a lot of folks that are probably on here may have attended a presentation where I've talked about it, right? I've got older kids. Some of us have older children, and even up to my 27-year-old son, their first instinct is not to pick up the phone and call you. They send you a text message. And so we need to have capabilities that are catering. A 27-year-old person is, one of your key team members today. And this isn't going to change. This is the reality we are in today. We have to have the tools and the technologies to allow them to work with us in the manner in which that they're comfortable working. And it needs to be easy. It needs to be quick. Use the Google, the Google example. I think about my youngest. He's 15 now, but a number of years ago, my wife Melissa is an opera singer, as many folks know, and she's not the best with computers. And when it's not working, she yells at it. because that, of course, will make the piece of music print. And she was frustrated one day, and my youngest said, "Hey, Mom, what's going on?" And she said, "Well, I can't get this piece of music to print. I'll wait till Dad calls later, and I'll ask him to remote in and take a look at it." And my youngest said, "Well, what? Show me what's happening." And it came up when it was giving an error. So what did he do? He Googled the error. Okay, this is a 12-year-old, right? It's an intuitive thing to them. And so what you've built here, and I actually have had a chance to show this to my kids. It was they picked up on it real quick, because it's the way the technology that they're used to interfacing with works. And that's with that focus, that laser-like focus, Tom, you as the product owner and the team at Halo have had on making the HaloITSM product extremely intuitive, very customer experience driven. We have the ability, as you said, to change the colors and change logos and do things to brand it for us. But you're driving that customer experience by making it so simple to use, right? And I think you've heard that from customers. I know we've heard it from our demos. People are like, okay, they were expecting it to be more complicated, and it just really isn't, because you focused on and continue as we look at your development pipeline and the things that you share. By the way, for everybody that's listening, Halo's the only company I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for, we'll just say, more than a couple decades, that actually shares their roadmap on their website. You can see what's planned, what's coming, because you guys are just so customer driven. I find that so exciting. Tell us about it.
It makes a lot of sense for us to share the roadmap, because a good proportion of our development is kind of driven from feedback from customers. We obviously do loads and loads of projects, and off the back of those projects, there's always really great suggestions, and often they're quite small little tweaks, and just to say, it'd be great if you just had this little connection here or this button here, and quite often we think that's a great idea, so we kind of add it to our roadmap and kind of bring it forward. It's a big part of how Halo's grown as well is just feedback from customers, and really building it around how people actually use systems and what people want from an ITSM solution. And just to kind of echo back to that earlier, about kind of making it too ITIL focused, especially from the self-service side. From the agent side, absolutely follow those ITIL processes, but from a user side, it needs to be intuitive and driven from how users actually use it. And in terms of the roadmap, we just publish it on the website. It makes sense for people to be able to go there, see those different up and coming features, and just kind of give us feedback on kind of which features are good and which ones about extra features and integrations and things like that they'd like to see. There's obviously features that internally we kind of, from our experience, we know are great to add and we want to add in. So it's equally a kind of a good proportion of our development is coming from our kind of experience and our knowledge, and us building out the program to be kind of the best kind of ITSM solution around. That's kind of where we're going with that. So there's a real kind of marriage of customer feedback and kind of our experience on kind of what makes a great tool.
And it's exciting to see where you're going. We want to take the opportunity to do is open the floor for questions. Folks may have questions about Halo or about where you're going. Tabitha, I know we've had a few questions come in. Maybe Tom and I can cover a few of those.
Yeah, we did. So the first one I want to hit on is, they said, we know not every implementation is the same, but generally, how long does it take to implement HaloITSM? So what is my time to value?
So yeah, you're right in saying that not every implementation is the same. But typically for a standard, let's just say 100 agents or with kind of standard requirements around that, I would typically say the average would be about 3 months. That's the average. But we really take it from our perspective. We can work quickly. We can drag it out over a longer period if we want to extend the time for, I don't know, testing or kind of longer kind of design phases or extended build phases. But I'd say 3 months is about the average. As we showed before with the Sky case study, they did it in 10 weeks, and that was a large service catalog, a large implementation. So for an average implementation, we can bring that into like 6 weeks if we needed to. It's just, it's really around the requirements of the customer, the timeframes, but it's very, very fast to implement.
Another question that we had come in is your solution completely web-based, or an agent will needs to be installed to configure it?
No, it's completely web-based. It's all in the web. We do have that includes the configuration, the agent side, the end user portal. It's all in the web. We do allow kind of options of kind of using that customers can use their own URLs, and they can have proper kind of their own support addresses and all those kind of things. We do have utilities that can be used as well. So if you are using Halo in the cloud, and maybe you want to integrate with an on-premise solution, we've got a tool called the Halo Integrator, which would run on-premise, and maybe it would connect with an on-premise solution such as, let's say, AD or SCCM or LAN sweep, whatever it might be. So we do have utilities that can run on-premise, but it's all in the web.
Awesome. Another question from Chris. What would be involved in migrating from another system to Halo, specifically a system that has many custom fields and custom processes? Is there any sort of import option?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends what tool they're coming from. It's worth just saying now that we have one-click imports from ServiceNow and soon to be Sherwell as well. And that would import all the kind of incident service requests, knowledge base articles, all those kind of things, just literally one click, and we've done all the work behind the scenes. If it's a system that is outside of them that's coming into Halo, there's all the standard connection options. If you can get into a CSV format, we can simply just map that and use that in our import processes. Or if there's a SQL database or something, we've got SQL connectors where we can map across there. And it's generally pretty straightforward. It's just a mapping exercise. You're just mapping whatever the other field and the other system is into the Halo field. And that's just something we do every single project. That's the skills we've got, and Excalibur obviously have the skills to do that as well.
Thank you. So how does HaloITSM help organizations meet their compliance requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of compliance, Halo behind the scenes is a SQL database. Everything that goes on in Halo, so any updates to tickets, literally any changes to any of the ticket fields, and any of the kind of configuration fields, any of the changes, they'll get audited. They'll get stored in our audit tables. So in terms of the actual application and the usage of it, that's literally just all auditable, and you just kind of run audit reports and export that out. And you can even do it on a per, I don't know, if you get audited, you need to pull information on specific tickets. You can literally go into each one and just export it to PDF or CSV. So lots of options there, and obviously we use AWS for our hosting, so we kind of comply with all the standard compliance side for your security as well. And we're kind of ISO 27001 certified as well. So it's all on our website. We've got all the kind of qualifications and certifications for kind of best practice.
Thank you. And then I know you guys are building out some other integrations, but what type of integrations does HaloITSM offer?
I might just share my screen again, Mike. I don't know if that's something you can let me have back. So integrations, we think it's really important that we integrate with all the other great tools out there that people use. We don't kind of force tools on people. We think it's important that and everyone is able to use the best of breed for whatever tools they want. So we integrate with a lot of the core systems out there, and we're continuing to integrate with pretty much, well, we're trying to do an integration every week is our internal objective. So you'll see lots and lots of integrations coming, and all of these integrations, these are all available out of the box. And if you want to integrate with something, so let's say, Azure AD maybe, you just toggle it on here, you'd go into it, and then in this case, you just add the record in here. And then you just set all the key things up, and then you authorize it, and you can do all the extra steps. So all these integrations are quite similar. They're kind of all normally authorization stage at the top, and then you would configure the integrations. So you'll see here loads of them here. So lots of the Microsoft suite, so Microsoft Teams, some of Azure DevOps. Down here there's Jira as well, and then your asset management tools as well. So Device 42, Landsweeper, and kind of your SolarWinds products as well. And then there's the remote control as well. So kind of Beyond Trust is another really popular one. TeamViewer under there. And if you just scroll down, you'll see there's Okta here is another popular one. Slack. So there's loads and loads of integrations that we offer, and there's no charge for these. You just toggle them on, connect it up to your environment, and you're kind of good to go. And worth saying as well, actually, if whoever that was is looking to do integrations, there's also a custom API, an API here, and everything in Halo is API driven. So literally everything you see is driven from an API. So you can kind of build custom integrations as well, and you simply just go into here and then register your application under here, and then you can kind of access the API documentation there. Then you can do kind of all those things that you're authorized to do. I think that's half the question. If there's a specific integration, I can show more as well if you wanted.
There wasn't a specific one that came in, but another question came in from the audience. Is it possible to run HaloITSM on-premise instead of in the cloud?
Yes, it is. Yeah, Halo can be run either on-premise or in the cloud. It's exactly the same application, and you just deploy it either in the cloud on your own servers. And behind the scenes, it's all Microsoft products. So it's Microsoft SQL Server, it runs in IIS, it runs on .NET Core. So it's all standard things that make it pretty easy to deploy.
Yeah, we've done implementations in both scenarios, and they can move from on-premise to cloud and cloud back to on-premise because it's the same core code that's being used for both. Yeah, it makes it very, very flexible and easy for customers to have the experience that they need.
I use the word portable a lot. It's a very portable application, and you can move it kind of from on-premise to the cloud as required.
Got another question here, Tabitha.
Yes, I just saw that one come in. So Tom, how much training is required to be efficient or proficient with Halo from a new customer?
So from a new customer, we probably work slightly differently to a lot of vendors. We implement very much in a workshop style approach. So as we're configuring processes, we are showing you at the same time how it works. We find it works best if we're doing things in a live scenario. It's not that you then have a training session on how to do it and then someone goes away and builds it. We can obviously do that if that's the preferred approach, but we do like to do it in a workshop style. So in terms of that, throughout the implementation, you're constantly learning. And then at the end of the implementation, we then tend to do a dedicated admin training. By that point, you already have pretty good skills and you already know a lot. So by the end of the project, I'd say you'll be very skilled up. You'll be able to do everything I've just done today, and you'll be able to do all those things. So end of the project, and if it's say you've got someone new coming in, and Halo's already onboarded, then you're looking at just kind of a set schedule kind of admin training, and that will every few weeks, kind of a few sessions a day. You'll be kind of trained up to do everything there as well.
Yeah, I'd say, from a, more traditional standpoint, if you were doing traditional training, having been through training ourselves as partners, it's 1 or 2 days. It may be actually really just 1 day, because I think we did it in like a couple hour block here and there, and got through all of it pretty quickly. And that's to even get, and in that period of time, you can get pretty deep into the system. For the customers, what we see all the time from the customer, they start using the portal. There's not like portal training. They just need the URL. They've got a search box, and the rest of it's fairly intuitive. Again, that customer experience has been such the focus of what you've done. We haven't seen that in other platforms that we've worked with in the past. You may do a real brief, couple of hour customer portal training, for the technicians. You've got some training, but it is literally in hours. People are up and running. The administrators, okay, you got a few hours, few more hours, because you're learning the back end stuff if you were learning that independently. But it's not significant. It is just so often I tell Tom this all the time. It's something that's pervasive within Halo. We'll go, wow, that's really cool. And the team at Halo assumes that all the tools that are out there do this. And those of us that have been in this, in this industry for a long time, a lot of the tools don't do that, or don't do it as intuitively and easily as Halo does. We went in with expectations, having learned multiple tools and platforms, of how long it would take to get up to speed. When we, within a few weeks, we had our first session with you guys, and some of our team members were already, like, they had questions. I hadn't even seen that part of the system yet, because they already figured everything else out. It was just, it's so simple. It's like, really, with what Tom showed in the demo, of adding a field and setting some, the options are pretty self-explanatory. And it really is just as simple as he showed you. There isn't, there's another thing you've got to do, or you've got to go, do this or do that. You guys, it's so exciting to us, because it's the focus and the attention that you've paid to making that experience for anybody leveraging the platform, from the administrators all the way to the customers and the technicians and agents in between. It is easy, it's intuitive, it makes sense. And we hear that, in demo after demo, that people are like, wow, okay, that was just so simple. It just makes so much sense. That was intuitive, that was easy. That's a common theme that you'll see. So we encourage everyone. I've got the slide up. Go out to the Excalibur website, Excalibur/HaloITSM. You can sign up for a free trial, of a free 30-day fully functional trial of Halo, and play with it yourself. That's what we've had a lot of customers do, and they're like, well, okay, yeah, we actually were, adding fields, and we haven't had any formal training. We didn't even look up a document. It was pretty simple to do. It really was just that easy.
It's worth adding as well that the environment I was just showing you was literally just me going to that same URL, signing up to a trial, and then just showing you things. So everything you saw there is just out of the box, and you can just start using.
Fantastic. Well, Tabitha, do we have any final questions for today? Oh, I think I see another one here. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. So does Halo have the equivalent of one-steps like they do in Sharewell, for example, for automations?
Can you talk me through?
Where if you clicked on a button, it takes a set of actions. Think of it like a simple macro.
Yes, we've got our own workflow builder. So you click a button, and that can do all sorts of events that you wanted to, and then you can drive it from the kind of just drag and drop on the builder.
Well, so Tom, since we have a moment here, would you mind showing that to folks?
Yeah, sure. Where have we got? I think you might need to make a presenter again.
Yes, sir.
And as he's pulling that up, one thing to note for everyone on the line is if you go to our YouTube channel, we have some deeper dives of the extended tech talks with Tom that he does extended pieces of the demo. So if you're interested, there's different pieces on there for you to look at.
Let's just talk a little about the change flow, for example. I think this is a good example I can show. So if we go into just this example, just a normal change we've got here, you'll see these different stages we have here. These are called workflow stages in Halo, and you'll see we've got 5-stage process here. Right now, let's go into the configuration under this tickets and then workflows. This is where our workflow engine sits. I'm just going to go into this change control workflow. And you'll see here, it's just a drag and drop builder. And at each stage, these are our different stages of our process. So if I just edit this, you'll see here, the first step here is just submission for approval. And once we take that action, it's going to move to this authorization stage. And then based on that event of whether it's approved or rejected, that's either going to move us forward or send us back to this stage. And if I just go back into the change process, I'll then use that action, that submit for approval, which was just there. Submit that, put notes on there, and then just save that. And this is just an example CAD process, but whatever the approvals, that's just all again configured in the browser. So that's now moved on to that approval stage. We're waiting for that approval or rejection. And I think I'm just going to approve this, and I'm going to move that forward on the flow. So you'll see here, it's gone from new, it's gone through authorization, it's now at the implementation phase. Very, very basic example there. And these flows, they can be really, really complex. You'll see here that you can build all sorts of steps, and all you have to do to add those steps, edit it, add steps, and then you've got all these configuration options on exactly what those steps do, and what events are going to be used. It might be an actual action button that we use, so using one of these buttons, or even creating a new button here. Possibly we're going to use some of those approval outcomes here, or it may even be a timed event. So it might be an automated event that triggers something, and you can go as far as you want. It can even go and run a PowerShell script or something. It can add the users to AD. It can do all these things, and they're just configuration areas within the workflow builder. To go into more detail, we probably do need longer, but hopefully that gives a bit of a flavour for how that works.
Yeah, Chris, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to do a more deep dive demo. But the way that the actions work is, putting it in a Cherwell parlance, the workflow engine within Halo serves for both what we would know as one steps in Cherwell, as well as the automation process engine. It's very powerful. If we were to dive into details, we'd be happy to do that with you. So Tabitha, I think that wraps us up for today. We want to thank you all for joining. Tom, as always, it's a pleasure to get to present with you and talk about the system we're so excited about, HaloITSM. We look forward to seeing everybody on a future episode as we continue to dive deeper into HaloITSM and bringing a great customer experience to our customers. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we'll see you around soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.